Hey Liverpool fans, have you seen the latest release? At AnfieldIndex, we've teamed up with LiverpoolFC to announce that the brand new 24-25 LFC Nike home kit and anthem jacket are out now, and they're hotter than ever. The brand new kit pays homage to the legendary Rome 1984 side, featuring sleek pinstripe detailing that brings a touch of history to our modern game. Whether you're cheering from the Kop or watching from home, you'll feel the spirit of the Reds coursing through every stitch. The best part? You can grab yours today. The new kit and training range are available in official stores, online, and through the LFC store app. Don't wait, order now and be ready to show your Liverpool pride and style. Get your hands on the new 24-25 LFC home kit and anthem jacket today. Let's make this season unforgettable. You'll never walk alone.
I'm Trent Alexander-Arnold.
I'm Curtis Jones.
I am Cody Gakpo.
Putting on the Liverpool top for the first time, it was a dream come true, and I'll never forget that moment.
The new LFC 24-25 season Nike home kit is out now.
Buy it today, along with our new goalkeeper kit and training range at your official LFC stores. Online at liverpoolfc.com/store and on the official LFC store app.
You will never walk alone.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Red, your lunchtime catch-up on all things Liverpool FC on a Wednesday on which I have returned. Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday, this podcast was the subject of a coup d'etat as Dave Davis tried to snatch it for himself and let only was me. Shameful stuff. I have my legal team all over the subject and will be pursuing compensation in due course. No, seriously, thanks to Dave for filling in yesterday as I was unavailable. I don't know what he went over because I haven't had a chance to listen to it because we were recording the Transfer Committee pod last night and recording Scouted this morning, so I haven't had a chance to listen back. So I assume he's touched on the fact that Liverpool are pretty highly represented in the England squad for the European Championships, or at least the provisional squad that has been named, but I want to give my thoughts on it anyway, because I've seen some interesting takes from certain people regarding the inclusion of Jarell Quansah, for example. And I'm not really sure how there can be any consternation about him being called up. When you look at the defenders in that squad, Kyle Walker's had an iffy season for Man City. John Stones lost his place and wasn't a fixture for City. Despite being fit most of the season, John Stones only played 16 Premier League games. Harry Maguire, I mean, he wasn't first choice for United. He's had injuries. He hasn't been good in years. Kieran Trippier's been dreadful since October. Luke Shaw missed large chunks of the season. Hasn't been good in a couple of years. Joe Gomez, fair enough. I'll come back to Joe. Mark Wehi is excellent, but he did miss 3 months of the season. And, I do think that needs to be looked at. Lewis Dunk had an appalling season. Hendrick Quansah had a very good year. Jarrell Branthwaite had a very good year. And Jarell Quansah had a very good year. Now, people will say, it was Quansah's first season. And what? Nobody was complaining when Kobe Mainoo was called up. Nobody. So why is it an issue when Quansah's called up? Like, who's the centre-back who's been left out? Some people would say, Levi Colwill. But Levi Colwill is a left-footed centre-back, so I would imagine the player picked instead of him was most likely Jarrell Branthwaite. If you're looking at the uncapped centre-backs, Branthwaite is the one who's been called up instead of Colwill. Levi Colwill played 17 Premier League games this year, 22 in all competitions. Jarell Quansah played 17, 33 in all competitions. So, it's very hard to make an argument for Colwill over Quansah, either based on body of work this past season when Quansah was a lot better than Colwill, who struggled at Chelsea. And part of that was he was forced to play left back quite a bit. But also the fact that one is right-footed, one is left-footed. I don't see that there is a real argument to be made against Jarrell. I don't think he'll make the final squad, but I think it's a really good nod from Southgate to recognise the season that Jarrell has had. I'm thrilled for Joe Gomez. Absolutely thrilled for him. I think he has to go. I think he has to go to the Euros. And honestly, I think he should go as the first choice left back. Now, I'm a little bit surprised that Ben Chilwell wasn't included. I know he's currently dealing with an injury, but so is Luke Shaw. And I think Chilwell is more likely to be fit for the Euros than Luke Shaw. Southgate has sort of indicated that Shaw's not going to be ready. If Lewis Hall had played more for Newcastle this season, I think he'd probably be in. If Rico Henry hadn't torn his ACL, I think he'd probably be in. But the fact of the matter is that they're not in. So if Shaw doesn't make it, you've got three options to play left back. You've got Kieran Trippier, who's not a left back, isn't good defensively, and has been dreadful since October. You've got Joe Gomez, who was our best left back this season. And then you've got the wild card of putting Bukayo Saka there. Like, Saka works there if Walker's the right back, because you can flex it into a back three and push Saka forward, especially if Trent is playing in midfield. He can shift wide to the right, and then you have basically wing backs. Maybe that's something you look at. It's Southgate, he probably won't. I don't see that there's another alternative than Joe Gomez is the most deserving starting left back for England. I think the big name that's missing from that defensive group is obviously Reece James. But I think it's a lacking in understanding of what Southgate wants that sees people wondering why Reece James was left out. Kyle Walker's going to be the starting right back. So if he's not there, ideally you want somebody that can come in and replicate what he does, which is to play more as that kind of centre-back, full-back than a Trent. If Trent was the starting right back, then Reece James as the backup makes sense, because if Trent isn't available, Reece James can come in and replicate quite a lot of what Trent does. But Reece James is a total departure from Kyle Walker. So if Walker's not there and you bring in Reece James, you're totally changing how your defence works and how your team operates, which is why I think Hendrick Quansah in particular, and also Joe Gomez, obviously, it's why I think they make a lot of sense in this squad, because they give you that same kind of defensive presence as Walker. They're not as quick as Kyle Walker, but they're both really quick. So I think that makes sense. I thought the defensive group, I mean, Stones was always going to be in, Maguire was always going to be in. Whether or not they deserve it is a totally different question. I don't believe they do, based on this season and in Maguire's case the last 3 or 4, but they were always going to be in. I don't think Lewis Dunk should be in the squad, but I can understand why he is, because if Maguire is out and you want someone that replicates a lot of what Maguire does, then Lewis Dunk makes sense. In midfield, Rice, everybody knew would be there. Bellingham, everyone knew would be there. Trent included as a midfielder. I mean, he should be right back, but it is what it is. Conor Gallagher, I mean, he had quite an overrated season for Chelsea, but again, I can see why he's there. James Maddison, I think, fully deserves the call-up. Kobbie Mainoo, I would have issue with him being in the squad. I think he's a very talented player, but I do think he's significantly overrated. I'm absolutely delighted for Curtis Jones. Now, he only made 14 Premier League starts this past year. He had one good run of form, then he got sent off, then he had a poor run of form, then he found form and was excellent, and then he got injured against Brentford, and when he came back, he wasn't quite the same. It's been a very up and down season for Curtis, but I do think he warrants that spot, because when he's good, he's very, very good. And I do think he warrants a spot in the squad. And then Adam Wharton. And for me, if I was picking the England team, Adam Wharton would be starting next to Rice in midfield with Bellingham as the 10. I think Wharton is, as a controlling midfielder, he is the type of player England have been lacking for a long time. He reminds me a lot of Michael Carrick. His ability to dictate play while also being solid defensively. He's not a defensive midfielder, but he is solid defensively, and it will allow Rice to play more box to box. I think Wharton should start, genuinely. But again, I'd be starting Trent at right back. I don't like the idea of Trent starting in midfield, but it might work at the international level. But Wharton's excellent. Genuinely excellent, and certainly a player that's not going to be at Palace beyond next season. I think he gets one more year there and then he's off for a big move. Mainoo's the only one I'd probably take umbrage with. But, I mean, who do you call up instead? You know, like you look at the two that have been in the squad within the last 12 months. Calvin Phillips, I think he's currently injured, but he's also had a disastrous season. Wasn't getting a sniff at City, went to West Ham on loan, and it's been a disaster. He's had basically a disastrous 2 years. So it's not a surprise that he's not in the squad. And it shouldn't be a surprise that Henderson's, but from a footballing point of view, it shouldn't be a surprise that Henderson's not in the squad. It is a surprise he's not in the squad, given Southgate has always gone with him, and he is the vice captain. But I mean, he was dreadful for 3 years before leaving us. And the season he's had this year has been an embarrassment. He was awful in Saudi. Awful. And he's gone to the Eredivisie, which is a very low quality. And he's been terrible. And Ajax are better without him. And Al-Ettifaq have been better since he left. So it shouldn't be a surprise from a footballing point of view that he hasn't been called up. There's probably one of those midfielders that won't make the group. My guess is it'll probably be Wharton, but I think it should be Mainoo. Now, I know people have said, well, Harvey Elliott should have been in. This is not the group in which Harvey Elliott would be in, because he's not a central midfielder. He's an attacking midfielder or winger. So while Jurgen will force him into a 4-3-3, in a 4-2-3-1, he's not playing in the double pivot. Rice can, Bellingham can, though he'll be the 10. Trent, in theory, can. Gallagher can. Maddison, again, more of a 10. Mainoo can play in the double pivot. Jones can play in the double pivot. And Wharton can play in the double pivot. So you've got 7. And he doesn't have a case over any of them in a double pivot. And as a 10, you're taking both Bellingham and Maddison above him. And then you've got the fact that Cole Palmer can play there. You've got Phil Foden can play there. Jack Grealish can play there. Now, you can make a case he deserves to be in over Jack Grealish, but Jack Grealish is being brought as a left winger. Harvey, when he plays wide, plays on the right. And in that right-hand side role, you've got Foden, you've got Saka, you've got Palmer. Like, he's not on their level. He just isn't. He's not close to their level. Not at this point. So there was no way he was going to be in. In the number 10 role, you've also got Eberechi Eze, who again is a better player than him. You've also got Jared Bowen's been brought for that right wing role. Now, I don't think he'll make the squad. And then left wing, you've got ostensibly just Grealish and Anthony Gordon, but Eze could also play there if needed. There was no spot for Harvey Elliott. He wasn't going to be in this squad. And it's not a bad decision. That's a very talented group of wide and 10 type players. I'm going to guess that Eze and Bowen are the two that miss out. I think Eze, Bowen, Wharton or Mainu or maybe Curtis miss out from the midfield. I think Qaunsah will miss out, and I think Luke Shaw will miss out. And James Trafford will miss out. So what's that? That's six or seven. So you're getting close then to, you're going to have to make a deep cut then beyond that. And then the strikers, Kane, Watkins, Tony. Bowen can also play there. Maybe that features in his favour. Maybe that pushes him ahead of possibly Ivan Toney, who hasn't had a great season and obviously missed part of it with the suspension. But it's a really talented group. Marcus Rashford is obviously the big one that missed out in attack. I think that's the big surprise to everybody, is that there's no Marcus Rashford. I'm a little bit surprised, but he had a really bad season. So it looks like the England squad has actually been picked on merit rather than anything else. The goalkeepers, Pickford was obviously going to be in. I mean, Ramsdale being in is questionable. But then Pope is injured and only coming back, and Sam Johnston is injured. So who else was it going to be? Dean Henderson, an obvious one, I think. And Trafford is just in, I think, for the experience of being in this preliminary squad. I wouldn't expect that he makes the final cut. So the squad has to be 26 players. So England have named 33. So if we cut that down, I think Trafford is an obvious one. I think Qaunsah misses out. I think Shaw misses out because of fitness. And Branthwaite might miss out as well. Because you'd have Gomez, Guehi, Dunk and Qaunsah can all play centre-back, as well as kind of Qaunsah and Gomez playing in the full-back spot. So I think Branthwaite misses out. I think in attack, I think it'll be Eze who misses the cut, and I think it will be Bowen, which leaves us needing one of the midfielders. I would leave Mainu at home, personally, and bring Wharton and Jones. James Maddison's a possibility to miss out as well, but I think it'll be one of the young three. Mainu, for me, is the one that deserves at least. He's also the one that I'd be least trusting in at the international level for a major tournament. Adam Wharton isn't fazed by anything. So for me, he'd be a definite in. And it would be between Jones and Mainu. And Jones just offers more. Can play.
I'm Trent Alexander-Arnold.
I'm Curtis Jones.
I am Cody Gakpo.
Putting on the Liverpool top for the first time, it was a dream come true, and I'll never forget that moment.
The new LFC 24-25 season Nike home kit is out now.
Buy it today, along with our new goalkeeper kit and training range at your official LFC stores. Online at liverpoolfc.com/store and on the official LFC store app.
You will never walk alone.
centre midfield, could fill in as the holder if you needed him to. Can play as a 10, can play left wing. He could do a job for you at right back. I think he just offers more than Kobbie Mainoo. And I think Mainoo is going to have a great career, but I would go with leaving him out. That'd be my 7 cuts. Trafford, Quansah, Shaw, Branthwaite, Eze, Bowen, and Mainoo. You'd feel like Jarrod Bowen's had a really good year. It would be harsh on him. Maybe Ivan Toney's the one that misses out. Instead, if you're bringing Watkins, do you need Toney as well? Like, Watkins has had a great year. So maybe it's Toney that misses out and not Bowen. Because Bowen can play right wing up front. He can play, actually, to be fair, he can play left wing as well. So maybe we'll just put Ivan Toney in that spot to miss out. Because form and versatility. England are not going to play with 2 strikers very often. So if you've got Watkins behind Kane and then Bowen as a third option, you're absolutely set. And if need be, Anthony Gordon can play up front. Cole Palmer can play up front. Grealish is the one that I think deserves to be in the least. Like, I would keep Eze in the squad over Grealish personally, but I think he'll keep Grealish because, reasons. What else has happened? Obviously, Monday, Arnie Slot was announced and we did the news round after that. Some big questions coming up for the club to answer with regards to transfers and contracts and stuff. We've already started our coverage of that. This is Anfield have every player graded in 23-24. So it's only players with 10 appearances in the Premier League. Alisson, 8 out of 10. I think that's fair. I think he's had a really good year. Obviously the injury, but I think he was really good. Caoimhin Kelleher, he's gone for an 8 there as well. I don't think he's been as good as Alisson. I would say maybe a 7, 7.5, but certainly did very, very well. Trent, 7. Yeah, I think that's about right. I think the first half of the season was overrated, personally. I think a pretty poor end to the year, but overall I think 7's fine. Quansah, 9. I think that's a little bit generous, maybe an 8, but certainly did very, very well. Virgil, 9. If Quansah's a 9, Virgil has to be a 10. Virgil was our best player this year. Matip, 7. It's fair. He's very unfortunate with the injuries. Kanate, 6. Yeah. In the end of the season, I think he was really struggling. Robertson, 6. I think that's generous. I think 4, 5 would be fairer. Gomez, 9. Again, I'd say generous, more of an 8 for me. Costa Simicas, 6. But he was better than Andy Robertson. So if Robertson's a 6, Costa should be a 7. But I do think 6 is about right for Costas. Conor Bradley, 8. Fair. Szoboszlai, 7. He's really, really good up until January. And then he struggled the back half of the year. Fair though. Alexis, 8. Yeah, no problem there. Endo, 7. I think that's fair. Gravenberch, 7. This is tremendous stuff. Added defensive steel to his goal threat. I'd suggest going back and watching the West Ham game. Absolutely desperate. Easily our worst player this year. Easily our worst player. 3 out of 10. Harvey Elliott, 8. Overall, I think that's okay, but I mean, he didn't have particularly good starting performances for most of the season, but came on very well at the end of the season with some good starts. I don't think I agree with who's going to be a mainstay for years. I mean, as a squad player, maybe, but not as a starter. I think he there's a cap on what he'll be able to do. Curtis Jones, 7. Like I said, a weird season, but when he was good, he was really good. Like, his best performances were better than Harvey's best performances because he offers more off the ball and he's more important defensively. But Harvey does things on the ball that get people more excited. and people do put more emphasis onto what happens on ball than off ball. Luis Diaz 7, I think that's mental. 5 at best. Really poor season. Really, really poor season. Mo Salah 8. Yeah, I think that's fair. He was great early in the season. Then, obviously, after the injury and that, not so good. Núñez 6. I'm not sure how you could watch this season that's just gone and have Luis Diaz with a 7 and Darwin Núñez with a 6. I think that's absolutely mental. Diogo Jota 7. And again, Cody Gakpo. So how are you actually going to sit there with a straight face and claim that Cody Gakpo was better than Darwin Núñez across the course of the season? Absolutely baffling, some of them. Every Liverpool player's best and worst moment. So young Henrick has put this together. Alisson, best moment. An astonishing save to keep it Miguel Almiron at Newcastle. Absolutely. Worst moment, the mix-up with Virgil at Arsenal. We won't do all of these. Trent, best moment, the late winner against Fulham. And worst, the loose touch that allowed Anthony Gordon. Yeah, because you can't really discuss his lack of any defensive interest as a moment because it went on all season. Quansah, best moment, the header against Villa. Unbelievable. His first goal for the club, was that not his second goal for the club? Did Jarell score 2 goals or 3 goals this season? I think he scored 3. I could be wrong. I probably am wrong. I thought he got one in the Europa League as well. He did. So it was his second goal for the club. And he had one in the Europa League ruled out wrongly as well. So it was his second goal, yeah. So Henry must have meant his first league goal. Worst moment, the Bruno Fernandes goal. That's fair. Joel Matip is touching farewell at Anfield. The worst moment, the gut-wrenching late home goal. I'd imagine tearing his ACL was probably his worst moment. Virgil, the League Cup winning goal. Worst moment is that mistake with Alisson. Joe Gomez, worst moment, the shooting from distance. Let's see, Alexis McAllister, the goal against Sheffield United. Worst moment, the mistake against Villa. So Bosley being at fault for Atalanta's third goal, that was woeful. But the screamer in front of the cop against Leicester was good. Curtis Jones, the goal against West Ham as his best moment. The red card against Spurs as the worst. Harvey Elliott, worst moment, not dealing with a bouncing ball before Amad Diallo won the FA Cup game for United. That's been completely overlooked. Best moment, the winner away to Palace was great. And his performance in that game was great when he came off the bench. Best moment for Ryan Gravenberch, his first goal. Worst moment, the miss at Brighton. I can think of 5 or 6 worse now, to be honest. Mohamed Salah. Worst moment, touchline spat with Klopp. I really don't think so. Best moment, the goal at home to Arsenal. Darwin, the miss away to Luton. That's very fair. Best moment, he's actually given them 2. The winners away to Newcastle and Nottingham Forest, which, in fairness, again, are more emphasis for why he had a better season than Luis Diaz and Cody Gakpo, as well as just performance level across the season. Diogo Jota, worst moment, the injuries. Let's see. Jayden Dan's best moment, the beautiful dinked finish in front of the cop. Yeah, what a finish. Right, that's that. What else have we got here? Ben Doak has been included in the Scottish preliminary squad for the Euros. I don't think he should be called up, given he's just missed a chunk of time with an injury, but it wouldn't surprise me if he is. What else we got here? Darwin Núñez finally responds to social media abuse. So he was talking to an Uruguayan TV channel. From the moment you start playing and until you retire, there will always be someone who will criticize you. I avoid reading those comments. Before I did look at them and it affected me a lot. That's because people are commenting on his posts like arseholes. Alexis McAllister has responded to claims he could soon join Real Madrid. And he has put them to bed, thankfully enough. Why Jordan Henderson wasn't involved in Jurgen Klopp tributes, he wasn't himself. Jamie Carragher revealed he contacted him, but found Henderson wasn't himself. What? Bizarre. Just bizarre. Just excuses, really. It is weird that he wasn't, but, you know, there was plenty of other people that were involved, so I'm sure he's had a private word with Jurgen, and that's all that's really important. Like, Jurgen isn't one for pomp and circumstance, so I'm sure if Henderson sent him a text or, you know, an email or FaceTimed him or just give him a phone call or left him a voicemail, whatever, I'm sure that's more than enough for Klopp, because I think that's all he cares about, is that, you know, people do things the right way and you have those relationships. There's a video going around of Jurgen reading fan mail that I began to watch and had to turn off. Because I just can't be having it. No. It's very emotional. Very, very emotional. How Arne Slot's squad could look with 4 new signings and 9 exits. We'll come back to that. Jurgen and wife Ula have Taylor Swift plan as superstar visits Liverpool. Okay. How Liverpool could line up under Arne Slot after Boss decides 4 new players. We'll come back to it. Liverpool transfer target offers clear hint star could leave. That is the final goalkeeper, I believe. Yeah. Justin Bijla. I think he'd be mental. Like, he's never going to be first choice for us. Kelleher, I believe, will leave, but I think he'd be nuts to leave. He should probably leave Feyenoord, but he shouldn't be joining us because it would end his international career. He'd be sat on the bench. Right, the outgoings that these people have put together. Matip, Alcantara, Adrian, Diaz, Costas, Nat, and Reece Williams. Johan Bakayoko, Inacio, 10 Coop Miners. Oh, this is dreadful. Oh, this is woeful. So they haven't signed a defensive midfielder. They've added another central midfielder, which we definitely don't need. And they've signed Bakayoko, who's not good enough to start for us. Inacio's the only good signing there. Literally the only good signing there. That's woeful. Like, have a think about things, lads. What is this? This doesn't actually go into detail about the players. This is just the positions. But again, this is nonsensical because this has Robertson starting for us next season, who really and truly should not be starting. He probably shouldn't be at the club next year. Elliott starting in a midfield 3 with McAllister, even though he doesn't play a midfield 3. If you want to argue for Elliott as a 10, that's fair enough. But then Diogo Jota can't be the left winger because he's not a winger. So you'd wonder, has this person actually watched Arne Slot's team play? Or are they just deciding that Arne Slot's going to come in and do exactly what Jurgen's done? Because that's what we all want. That's what we all want. It's why we wanted Xabi. Xabi was going to come in and be just like Jurgen, except that he's nothing like him. The football's nothing like him. and he played a back three. Well, Arnie's nothing like him. The football is not the same. And if you believe it is, you've been lied to. Anfield watch. What have you got for me today? Hopes and dreams, or have you actually watched a game of football? Let's see. Anfield watch. Here we go. I'm going to open up AnfieldIndex as well. So, on Anfield watch, there's a piece about Darwin. Feyenoord star back from move after Liverpool contact. I wouldn't imagine Liverpool have made much contact about David Hanko. I really wouldn't. I think that would be a very underwhelming signing. He's a good player, but we can absolutely do better. Just from that type of player, Calafiore, Inacio, Hincapié, Pacho, they're all better now and younger. Murillo would be another one, better and younger. It just wouldn't make sense for us to sign David Hanko. Liverpool to battle Arsenal for Justin Bijlow. I don't think he goes to Arsenal. Elite Premier League prospect. Oh, that's Ben Doak. Fancy being Liverpool's new set-piece coach? Then head over to LinkedIn. That is an interesting way for the club to go about hiring a set-piece coach. One key staff member at Liverpool set to stay despite exodus. That is Taffarel, who is was brought in at Alisson's request, which he's left the club now. If Alisson was happy with the level of goalkeeping coaching he was getting, it's very unlikely he'd have requested the club to bring in Taffarel. Liverpool news recap, Salah set to stay, yada yada. England teammate shares Trent Alexander-Arnold Liverpool contract fears. It's a piece about Qaunsah. Arne Slot warned off signing former Feyenoord stars. Well, Arne Slot won't be signing anybody, but Liverpool should not sign any Feyenoord players. Really and truly, Liverpool should not sign them. And Mario Melchiot is right when he says we should stay away from Eredivisie players. The league is so poor. The step up is so big. Even to a mid-level Premier League club, it's huge. To a club like us, it's just insurmountable. Hull are poised to further capitalise on the relationship with Liverpool, targeting yet another promising talent from Anfield. And allegedly they're interested in James McConnell. That could be a good move for him. Could also be a good move for Bobby Clark. Right. Report. Arne Slot named priority Liverpool target with 128 million clause. Right. So this is dreadful reporting from somebody in the Mirror. The player in question is Ergun Koku. Ergun Koku was a target last summer and we signed Alexis McAllister instead of him. So that rules him out. But let's move forward 12 months. Ergun Koku's had a really disappointing season at Benfica. I saw Ted Knutson, or however you pronounce his surname, Knutson, I think, say that can't remember the last time Liverpool signed a pure attacking midfielder. He's not a pure attacking midfielder. He's a central midfielder. He's been playing as an attacking midfielder and he's been really bad at it. So it doesn't make sense as a signing. He's also made some questionable comments in the past that I think the club would rather steer clear of. So I wouldn't imagine he'll be someone that will be looked at all. As a piece about Ibu, a piece about Slot, a piece about Ben Doak being in the Scotland squad, and a piece about Diogo Jota being in the Portugal squad. Podcast-wise then, there's the new Stat Me Up with Dave Davis and Ben Boxak. There is the transfer show with Trev and Dave Davis. We did the first episode of the transfer committee pod last night, went through the whole squad and did keep, sell, loan. and talked about a couple of other things like, style of play, where Trent is going to be used, which is going to be important to everything, and kind of set ourselves up then for the next two parts, which will follow, I think, next week and the week after. And then there is our season review, which is ongoing. So part 2 is up. It is Guy Drinkle with Jim Boardman and Trev Downey. Part 3, I think, has been recorded with Nina. I want to say Dave Davis and Harinder. I think that's part 3. And then I think part 4 is Guy, myself, and Carl, which we did as a scouted this morning. There'll be another scouted recorded today, which might be out before the one that was recorded this morning, depending on schedule. But that's it. That's everything. I will see you all tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. And Dave Davis, stay away from the throne. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at AnfieldIndex and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
I'm Trent Alexander-Arnold.
I'm Curtis Jones.
I am Cody Gakpo.
Putting on the Liverpool top for the first time, it was a dream come true, and I'll never forget that moment.
The new LFC 24-25 season Nike home kit is out now.
Buy it today, along with our new goalkeeper kit and training range at your official LFC stores. Online at LiverpoolFC.com/store and on the official LFC store app.
You will never walk alone.